It's more to the picture than meets the eye. Behind the lens with legendary sports photographer Steve Babineau. Babs, almost 50 years of iconic images, not only of just Boston sports like the Red Sox, the Bruins, and the Celtics, and local college teams, but the NHL, the WHA, and some of the most magnificent rock acts you've ever seen, and Westerns. But in this edition, we're going to talk about cups and championships and some of the Stanley Cups that you've been a part of, Babs. First of all, welcome, Steve Babineau.
Good to see you again.
Excellent. Let's take a look at this, Babs, here. This is Larry Robinson, and is it Serge Savard in the left-hand corner?
This is Guy Lapointe, Larry Robinson. This is 1976-77 season when they beat us in the Garden. And, I'm not officially working for the Boston Bruins at this time. I'm shooting for the Hockey News and probably Hockey Digest at the time. So my credential got me in. And I was given access to be on the ice as well as go into the locker room. So this is my first experience being around the cup, I guess I'll say, and seeing it. I might have seen it at the old Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto when I first got married. I remember going up there and seeing it in the hall, but physically seeing the emotion, the jubilation, and I mean, obviously they beat us in the Garden, so they didn't do too much celebrating on the ice. They just took it right into this locker room, which was like a really, really small dressing room. And you had a ton of Montreal press in there. And, the thing I remember about this, this is my first relationship that I established with Denny Brodeur, the photographer for the Montreal Canadiens, who was Marty Brodeur's dad.
Really?
And, I remember having conversation with him during this series, a little bit, not even knowing about Marty at the time in 76, you think about it, but, later on when I ended up traveling and going up to Montreal to shoot games, Denny was still actively shooting, and then his son started playing, and I eventually saw New Jersey win. He's not depicted here. We don't have New Jersey here on this particular image here, but being in New Jersey when New Jersey won and taking a picture of Marty and his dad in the locker room with the Stanley Cup.
Cool.
So to me, it was like deja vu. Here I met this legend back in the day in Denny Brodeur, and then he gets to experience his son winning the Stanley Cup for New Jersey, still with a camera, and I'm able to capture a picture of him and his son in the dressing room. So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
And the Habs, I mean, you talk about the dynasty that they were in the 60s, but in the 73, 76, 77, 78, 79, then they came back, won in 86, last time in 93. And Larry Robinson, and like you said, Guy Lapointe, Serge Savard, Laperriere. They had tough guys like Chartres in the background there, Rick Chartres, see him? And what a great team. And then we're talking about Lafleur, Schutt, Lemaire, Gainey. It's just on and on and on. They were just so deep.
I got to see some of those younger players, playing when I was in with my season tickets to photograph the Boston Braves, and Larry Robinson was playing for the Nova Scotia Voyageurs. And I saw Robinson playing games against Terry O'Reilly, who was playing for the Boston Braves. And so, I mean, next thing you know, I'm in shooting the NHL, and here's Larry Robinson, and here he is in this picture, with the Stanley Cup with Guy Lapointe. And, Guy Lapointe eventually came to the Bruins in a roundabout way later on, but they had a tremendous defensive core and skill, speed, Cornoyer. I mean, I was in the game. I saw Henri Richard play. I saw Henri Richard, Yvan Cornoyer, Stevie Schutt, Guy Lafleur, Tremblay, Réjean Houle, Jimmy Roberts. So yeah, they
Mark
were
Tardif.
Yeah, they were a powerhouse without a doubt, no doubt about it. And rivalry, definitely a rivalry. Whether back in the day when we were somewhat a poor team, we still had a rivalry against the Montreal Canadiens. And then we got to be a good team, a competitive team, and it just made the rivalry even that much better, you know.
Yep. And the most storied franchise in all of hockey. Then to the right, I respect this guy here. I believe it's Cup number 6 for him. 1994 with the New York Rangers, Mark Messier.
Yeah, this is, you know, again, working for a licensee or licensees getting access to shoot this, because I remember the Norman James Company up in Canada would do posters of the Stanley Cup team and 8x10 photos. And you know, I would supply them with photos. So I'm sure I was probably in on a credential for them. But to, you know, to shoot the game, I didn't have the greatest spot, but it ended up being a pretty good spot because I was behind one of the goals and I could shoot down the ice at the goal this way. And when Messier scored that decisive goal for the Rangers, which clinched it, I have looking right at that moment. And then quickly, you know, it was kind of like protocol to get down to the Zamboni door, you know, a couple minutes before the end of the game, if it was going to be definitely clearly won, and then going out on the ice and, you know, getting this photo here of Messier as well as, you know, other players lugging it around. And I remember, you know, Madison Square Garden just went nuts because it had been such a drought for them in winning the Stanley Cup. And, you know, Messier having won it with Edmonton seemed like, you know, he brought the good luck to the franchise, you know.
Oh, yeah. And leadership in that Ranger team, as you said, was just so deep and stacked.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
And good for the Rangers. They're a good team and a good organization. To the right, we spoke about him last episode. Mario.
Yeah, Mario winning here in Chicago.
91, 92, or is this later?
This would have been, I think it's not, well, I can't tell by that patch. He's got a patch on the shirt there. That might have the year, but it's hard to see. I think that's the second time. And I went to Chicago, and you know, again, being in the locker room, seeing the emotion. You know, now I'm the team photographer for the Bruins, having experienced some Stanley Cup wins, and you know, but not having done it with the Bruins as of yet, you know what I mean? And then, you know, seeing Edmonton beat us in the Garden with Messier as well as Billy Ranford, right, in goal. Billy Ranford was in
1990,
goal.
yep.
Yep, you know, seeing that in the Garden, and then knowing that we lost when we went to Edmonton, that would have been before that. And that was when the lights went out and they had to pick the series up back in Edmonton. And we got, I think we got swept in that maybe.
That was the 88, right. There was a 5-game series and they got swept. Figure that out.
Right. The lights went out in the Garden, you know,
Yep.
in that game. And so we went to Edmonton. And so I wasn't there for that, but we lost. But then Edmonton comes back and beats us in the Garden, and seeing that, it's kind of weird, you know, but again, you know, being able to see you know, Montreal win it in the Forum there, Patrick Roy in goal, and Guy Carbonneau.
Yep. And this is 86, Babs, lower left-hand corner, and that's Jacques Demers.
Yeah. In the background, you can see Serge Savard right under the sortie sign, the exit sign. He's right there. You know, I had one strobe up. If you look at Carbonneau here, you can see the shadow behind his body on the ice. And the league allowed me to put one strobe up. I had to guesstimate where the trophy was going to be presented based on if they wanted it. Should have been at center ice. And I put one light up and just hoped and prayed. And so this picture would be with the strobe. But then when Patrick Roy was given the trophy, he literally got it, looked up to the crowd, and bing, bang, took a couple of shots, and Beckett Magazine ended up using one of those on the cover of their
Money
magazine.
shot.
You know,
A money shot.
You know, I couldn't shoot that way if they were skating around to my right and to my left, because my light was really only in that area. So I think I had a second camera to shoot that stuff, but you know, the key was for me to get this shot and figuring that they would come back to center ice for the team photo, I got a team photo shot of that as well. So
let me ask you again. Now, we talked about this last show about the strobe light. You're at the Montreal Forum. They let you install a light way up in the rafters and then comment about, did you have a second camera? Was that a remote camera?
No. The second camera was just a handheld camera so that, as they drifted away from that window where the light was going to flash, if they carried the cup down behind the net, I was set up using regular film, available light to get that. But if they came back to the center ice position and took the team photo like they did, bingo, I had changed cameras quickly back to get that picture of the team photo. So it's a little nerve-wracking when you think about it, you know what I mean? And and I remember I was declined originally to put the strobe up, and then it must have been like right during warm-up or something like that. All of a sudden, this person from the NHL came up and said, "We're going to allow you to put one strobe up center ice." And I mean, I had to make a beeline for the catwalk and get this thing hooked up. And I probably—
Oh my God, just before the game, Babs, you had to go way up in the catwalk to hook this strobe thing up. And how big is it? Is it the size of a suitcase?
It's a light, I've got actually one of them right here. It's covered up, but I mean, it's like this with a reflector on the cover here. And you'd have a clamp that would get mounted to a bar, and then you'd have a safety cord that you would hook on the back of this and wrap it around a railing so it wouldn't fall off. But you literally had to just project it down on the ice in the area that you wanted to shoot.
And it would go off when you snap the photo.
Right. It would be a remote control. I'd have a receiver attached to the back here, and I'd have a transmitter on the top of my camera, and it was to a certain channel. And if other people were using strobes in the building, we all had to kind of figure out who was on channel 1, who was on channel 3, who was on channel 2, and I was probably on channel 4. And so we wouldn't, because if I fired channel 1 and somebody else had channel 1, then I was going to fire his lights too. So it was a gentleman's agreement that, hey, I'm on this channel, you're on that channel, you're on that channel. And but I remember that happened very, very quickly before the start of the game. And I think I actually had the light up there and mounted in position, but I was told I couldn't shoot. And then when I was told I could shoot, I had to make a beeline for the catwalk to go up to turn it on and turn on the receiver. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's not like I had to install it 10 minutes before the game time. It was already physically up there, but I just hadn't had the clearance. And I think that, they made a decision that it was a licensee of the National Hockey League, and, we should give it to him. So.
Yep, good. It was a smart decision. So when you took a photo with the strobe, did that interfere with play, or did it blind players' eyes? Or I'm kind of ignorant to all this.
No, I mean, it really wasn't. If I tell the story that I pointed that out, this fan asked me one day at a Bruins game, what was that thing on top of my camera? And it was the transmitter. And I said, you really don't want to know what that is. And they said, why? I said, because it's going to bug you. And the person said, why? I said, because look. And then I clicked. And I said, look right there. And I clicked, and boom. At the Garden, at that time, 6 lights went off. Boom. Okay. And it was like, so now after that, I said, I've already taken 200. It was the start of the third period. And I'd already taken like 200 pictures. And they did not see it.
Wow.
And now I fire it, and they see it. And now they see it every time I shoot. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The light would get absorbed in the crowd, the color, the people wearing different clothing. It got absorbed. And I really only had one issue in a game, an NHL game, where Reggie Lemelin was playing for Calgary. And I was on the bench during warm-up, and I'm shooting warm-up. And Reggie had the mask up, and he had it up on the top of his head, and he was curling in the far corner. And it was one of those pictures where he's a goalie with his mask up, and I'm on him, and all of a sudden he puts his head up like that, and I go boom. And he sees the flash. And I could see him. He reacted. He went like this. And then he went back in the game, took warm up, and then the first period started. And I'm in the penalty box shooting, and Reggie's down the end where I did not have strobes. I had 4 lights in the garden that were from the blue line, red line, blue line in on this side of the rink, and I'm in the penalty box here. And Reggie is down the other end. So now Reggie's watching the play down this end of the ice when nothing's going around on him, and he's just watching it. And if I'm shooting the strobes, now he's seeing the flash. He's seeing it, like every time I'm taking a picture. So there was a stoppage in play, and I remember stoppage in play, maybe a commercial, and all of a sudden, I don't know who it was, what referee it was, but the referee comes over into the penalty box and goes, "Are you shooting with strobes, flashes?" And I go, "Yes." Reggie's complaining about it. And I go, "Okay." So you go, turn them off. So I turned them off, just by shutting the transmitter off on the camera. Shot the rest of the game. So we play, the rest of the season. I don't even remember if this is the end of the season or not, whatever. But we play the rest of the year, but, I went back to shooting strobes after that. You see what I'm saying? The rest of the season. Didn't have any problems. But who do we get in the off season?
Reggie.
We get Reggie Lemelin. And I'm saying my career is over.
87, 88. Yep. 1987.
Okay. My career is over. Right. And I remember going to the press conference and taking the press conference. And, after the press conference, they brought Reggie into the locker room, and Reggie put on all the gear. He put on all the gear, and I brought him out on the ice, and I had the strobes on, and I wanted to go to the old classic, like Terry Sawchuk in the net, posed, in the squat, and took like maybe 7 shots with the strobes. Okay? And I go, "Okay, Reggie, I'm all set. No problem." And he goes, "That's it?" I go, "Yeah." I said, "I'm sure we got some home runs with that." It was film. It wasn't digital that I could show him. And I said, "By the way, you didn't see the strobes." He goes, "What?" I said, "The strobes, the flashes in the ceiling." And then I showed him. And he goes, "Oh, no, never saw him." I said, "Well, you shut me down last year when you played here," right? Because he goes, "It must have just caught me during warm-up, and after that, it just kind of psyched me."
Yep.
It was in my head, and it was just – and I said, "So you don't have a problem with it?" He says, "If I didn't see him in an empty building when I'm looking at you," you see what I'm saying? It's not like I'm looking up at the light. I'm looking at you. I didn't see – I said, "Thank you very much," I said. And, we became friends after that. It was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, Reggie's a great.
My heart was beating like crazy. Doing that photo shoot with him.
Yeah. And did you know Reggie's coming up on 400 career goals as a forward for the Bruins alumni?
Yeah, I remember, we played in that alumni game at Fenway Park.
Yep.
The shinny games that they had when they opened the ice, the Winter Classic, and he was playing forward. And I'm saying, Cleon's playing goal and you're playing forward?
Yep. And Reggie came back and dressed for the Winter Classic outdoors at Gillette Stadium.
Yes.
He and Razor, Andrew Raycroft, beat the Habs, Knuckles, and all the great guys there.
Oh, that was a great moment. That was a great moment. I was there for that, and that was.
So just wrapping up on that '86 team, I made a lot of friends with the guys in that team. Michael Lawler's a good friend, but this guy Carbonell, what a player! Just a defensive player, captain, leader. And then we got a little one, Babs, in the center. I know it's small, but we know it's the Colorado Avalanche, and we know it's Ray Bork's Stanley Cup, right? So
no, this is actually, I think, before. This is Colorado won it once before, Ray, right?
Oh, 96. You're sorry. I'm sorry.
This is down in Florida when they beat the Panthers, I think.
96. This
is when they beat the Panthers. Again, I went down there for that. And, it was kind of, you talk about Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals against Joe Sakic and the team that they had. So, yeah, this is pretty cool. Another one added to the memoirs. And,
sure.
They saw.
Yeah, and then we got it's the Stanley Cup that I remember, and obviously we do from 2011, but one of the most outstanding, if not the greatest, goaltending performance in the history. You got Patrice and Timmy Thomas.
Yeah, this was this was really special for me and my family. I'll call it my family because, here we were going. Brian flew out to Vancouver with the team because he was shooting for the NHL / Boston Bruins, and Keith was already there, my youngest son, who works in the visiting team's dressing room, and they brought him along to that game. And I flew out the day of the game on a charter with the wives, family, and some scouts, as well as a few season ticket holders. And, we arrived at like 3:00 in the afternoon that day, and it was a 5:00 game. And here I am going into this game, being in reality the last photographer to show up because, it's protocol as far as, going through the 7-game series or whatever it was. And I had no idea what I was going to get for a photo position. I expected, I'd get odd man out, whatever, and I wasn't going to get an ice level position or whatever. But
and Babs, can I just interject? We are going to do a full episode on this whole adventure, but go on.
Yeah. So, here I was in Vancouver, and, the NHL had acquired my archive. So I don't know. I think they maybe took that into consideration. And I had a center ice vomitory, 14, 15 rows up, looking straight across at the two benches. Goal to my right, goal to my left, dead center, exactly where I really wanted to be, where I have no obstruction. And, here we are playing in this game, and 10 minutes into the game, we're winning. And I'm like pinching myself, thinking that, is this really going to happen? Because I'd been down this road before and had lost 3 times, Montreal once and Edmonton twice. And, it's like, I don't even remember the second period from a remembering standpoint. Photographs, when I would go back and look at them, I could, understand that. And Brian was going to go on the ice for the presentation. He's the one that took the picture of the team around the trophy, but it made sense not for me to be on the ice at the same time. And the NHL controls that event, is who goes on the ice. And there was going to be like 3 waves of photographers to go on the ice after 2 additional waves after the trophy was presented. And so I had no problem because I was in a different position, getting a different look, different angle. And I was dead center looking at the bench as the clock counted down. So I saw the emotion on the bench. I saw the Jacobs family lining up in the runway. And Brian told me that he was going to try to go on the ice, come out through the bench area versus coming out to the Zamboni corner. And he literally was giving up the last 2-3 minutes of the game to get into that position to go out. But here I was. And I remember him, before he left his hole, looking up at me and putting his fist in the air like, we did it. And me, emotionally, I just lost it. I got choked up, and finally we're going to win, or I'm going to win a Stanley Cup with my team. And quickly I had to get my act together because I was looking directly at the benches and saw the jubilation, and the countdown came. And, I just assumed Timmy was going to take everything, just throw it all off in the air and jump in the air. But the Vancouver defenseman had to pick the puck up and go behind the net. And he came out just to his blue line, and he just took a long shot. So he had to make Timmy handle the puck. So I was able to stay an extra couple seconds on the bench and then go to the pile and get the pile with Z and Campbell flying through the air onto the pile. And the Vancouver crowd was out of it. They were disappointed. So I really didn't have any obstruction. So to physically finally win.
Babs, I think the Vancouver crowd was too busy rioting outside, but go on.
Yes, we didn't even know about that, to be honest with you. I had no clue that was going on until we were finally in the dressing room, and the PR, Matt Shimura, stood up on a table and said, "Second plane must leave now. Second plane must leave now." We were really only into maybe 30 minutes after the game in the locker room, and I already had 6 bottles of beer poured over my head, and hoisted the cup in the dressing room. And then when I went outside and I saw all the Canadian Mounties around the bus, then I found out what was really going on. And, we got escorted to the airport. But we had to wait. We had to wait. That second plane had to wait because of the layover for the pilots didn't have that window of time that they're supposed to be laid over a certain number of hours. And we had to literally just sit at the gate and, just wait until the pilots were cleared. And if I remember, the team still partied. Brian was on that plane, and they still partied for another good half an hour, and then they came to the airport and they flew out, and they got back to Boston before we actually got back to Boston.
Wow.
But sitting on the plane and going through editing, because it was memory cards and I didn't have time to download my cards from the game situation to the celebratory situation to the trophy presentation. I'm sitting on the plane and I'm editing, and whoa, I remember that was pretty special, and a lot of people hovered around my seat, behind me, side of me, looking, and it was pretty spectacular to finally say that I was with a Stanley Cup champion team. So
and I know you got emotional. We're going to do a whole episode on this with your family, but just seeing your kid who you taught down on the ice giving you like the dad, we did it, dad.
Yeah, it was like, and then, Keith too. Keith in the locker room, and, my youngest boy, equipment guy. And, it was really, really cool. There's no other way to describe it. And respect, the players seeing me and treating me like one of the gang. And it's been that way, the 48 years that I've been affiliated with a team, no matter who it is. Well, you see Andrew Raycroft now with Nesson, and every time he comes into the Garden and he sees me, or Andrew Alberts sees me.
Good guys, both of them.
Babs, hey Babs, how you doing? Hey Babs, how you doing? How's the band, Babs? What's going on, Babs? It's like, and every guy that I've come in contact in that organization, which is probably well over 450 players, through my career, from Bobby or to Cam now. I mean, you think about it. I shot Cam Neely's career, and here's Cam Neely, the president of the organization. And
Same with Sweens. Same with Don Sweeney.
Yeah, and every time, every time Cam sees me, it's Babs. Babs, how you doing? And it's going on the road, shooting games for Upper Deck and traveling and seeing, other coaches of other teams that are ex-players. You got Rick Tocchet. I'm watching the game yesterday, and I can't remember who John Chanel, and Pat Burns even, Pat, not Pat Burns, but
doesn't matter.
Claude Julien, Montreal. He's me in Montreal, and it's like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? It's like, so it's spectacular. It's just unbelievable.
And Babs, you're a historian. I mean, you're a long past photographer. You're a historian. I call you the Ansel Adams of New England sports photography, but you're a historian. You capture the iconic moments. We got only a few minutes left. Lower right-hand corner. Tell me this isn't 2013, is it?
Yeah, this would be me coming down from the catwalk after getting the winning goal from the catwalk with a photo, and then my spot where Brian would have been on the ice getting the team photo of Chicago. I shot elevated, and it hurt to know that here, was another team winning in Boston. You know what I mean? And just like St. Louis beating us last year, but Chicago had a good club. They had a good club, and
who's this?
Give him credit.
Who is it?
Taze.
Oh, it's Taze. Okay. Wow. I didn't know you could grow a beard. They were good though, and I got to tell you, all we needed is 1 point out of Sig, and it would have been a different story. That was an epic finals, but we came up short, just like against St. Louis. Give Chicago the tip of the hat, but that one hurt. Okay, and in like the 74 finals, hurt against Philly, 77-78 against Montreal, 88-90 against Edmonton, but that one hurt, and the one against St. Louis hurt.
Right. Yeah, it was.
All right.
Last year was when we lost to St. Louis. That was,
Yep. So Babs, eventually talked about It's 7 photos in this episode, 1 slide, but it was great. But we got to wrap it up. But I want to thank you again, Steve Babineau, legendary sports photographer, for joining us on yet another edition of More to the Picture Than Meets the Eye. I'm John Horrigan. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.